Hi everyone, thank you for listening or for being here for my project. My name is Nathan McCully, and for you today I have my folding desk creative project that is based on the book The Distance Between Us by Reyna Grande. So some of my other classes at Mission College had required creative projects, such as the one that I will show you pretty soon. So I thought it would be fun to do a creative project for English 1B as well. Now, as a woodworker, I have learned that I can often turn written ideas into wooden items that, in effect, provide new ways of understanding different concepts. Some examples of creative projects that I have built include the following. Shakespeare's Cupboard. This is a project that I built for my Shakespeare class. And so when you open up the cupboard, there are little jars inside that are filled to the brim with little miniature items based around Shakespeare's plays. Next up, we have Sedna, Goddess of the Sea puzzle. This was made for my mythology class a couple semesters ago and is based on Sedna, Goddess of the Sea. And I have another creative project called the Low Rose Drum. This was made out of real goat skin, or this was a goat skin drum made for my English 1A class last semester, and it includes removable pieces that can be removed from the walls of the drum. Now, onto my project. I considered many projects for my extra credit work in English 1B, but after much thought, I decided to use my woodworking skills to make a desk. This project is significant because when COVID-19 first began, I was helping to cook for a homeless kids shelter after their cooks had disappeared. As I cooked meals for about a month, it occurred to me that the homeless kids didn't have any desks upon which to study. And so I designed this collapsible desk prototype with the hope that I might someday be able to make these desks for them. Now, a little background. So this desk is sturdy when standing up, or when it's standing up. But say in the off chance that you do not, the times where you don't use the desk, it folds up for very easy storage. Now, when the desk was assembled, or during the assembly procedure, I took it one step further and I wood burned different references into the top of the prototype portable desk. On the top of the desk shows items that are referenced many times over in Reyna Grande's book, The Distance Between Us. Let's explore some of the symbolism, shall we? The idea is Reyna Grande, as a writer, uses imagery to a very large extent in order to paint the world around her in vivid detail. Problem is, she uses so much imagery in her story that it was challenging to name a few out of the hundreds that could convey the literary device of plot in her story. These were my selections. What items would you choose? Starting off, we have in the lower left corner the Mexican flag. Most notably, the very first book takes place in Mexico, in the city of Iguala, Mexico. Moving up from that, we have an alarm clock that represents the fact that time is fleeting, and the three Grande siblings, Reyna, Mago, and Carlos, have very, very little time to spend as children. They are forced to grow up very quickly. Next up, we have a cigarette. The cigarette kind of embodies the fear that the Grande siblings have with their grandpa, or with their abuelo Augurio in particular. Next up, we have a bucket of lemons. Lemons are critical to the story because they represent the inequality that starts to form between the Grande siblings, and also represents favoritism. The constellation Scorpio. This represents each of the three Grande siblings in their quest to discover who they are as individuals, as they try to kind of discover meaning in their lives. Next up, a ruler represents conformity, and in Reyna's case, it represents her unwillingness to conform to school life. Next up, a box, and it is this box that it represents an acknowledgement of their kids who they left behind in Mexico. Mommy and Papi's acknowledgement of their kids who still live in Mexico. Next up, we have a heart. And the heart represents Reyna's split in allegiance between Mexico and the United States. She lives both in the United States, or she lives in Mexico, it's where she was born, but she also lives through the United States through her father's photo. We then have a hand, and this ultimately represents Reyna's mother's scars that she had received at a tortilla mill, but also Reyna's recognition that this person was her mother. Now, next up we have hot chocolate. Now, hot chocolate from her abuelita Ginta brings joy, unlike the cigarette smoke from her abuelo Augurio. Moving on, we have a train that represents a sort of independence that forms between each of the kids. The same independence that also happens to be forced on them from very early on in the book, through their parents leaving. We then have a telephone handset, or along with handset, that represents a turning point in the story. Usually, the three kids are used to receiving daily phone calls from their parents. But this is a different case, as their Papi's physical presence is what they are met with. And second to last, we have a family that could be used to describe either Carlos, Mago, and Reyna, or it could we have three figures that could represent the three siblings as they run across the border along with their Papi, leaving their mommy and their other sibling Betty behind in Mexico. Last but not least, we have the U.S. flag. The book ends as the three siblings and their father cross the border into the U.S. in order to start their new lives together in a new place. In conclusion, Reyna Grande's book, The Distance Between Us, she uses such literary techniques of imagery represented by the icons that I have chosen, and each of the icons works to visualize the different plot points of the story as they live. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope that you can read the second book of Reyna Grande's characters. You can see some of my projects at this link, and happy holidays. Thank you.